If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be really intelligent, read them more fairy tales. This is something that Albert Einstein said, but why would a genius want you to read your children fairy tales? Snow White, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, and Winnie the Pooh are just a few characters in fairy tale stories. What could children learn from stories that have a beginning, a middle, and normally a happily ever after? What can children learn from a story that has a character with some sort of struggle that she has to overcome or he has to overcome to have that happily ever after? How can stories like that make children more intelligent? Let's take a look at the role in the parents in fairy tales. They are not always a good role. Parents normally abandon their children, banish them, ignore them, trap them in a tower, or are dead. Every parent makes mistakes, often big ones. Children often suffer because of them. They can become bitter, or children can overcome that. They can heal and find their own happily ever after. As we learned earlier, Albert Einstein was a big fan of fairy tales. He said they can make children intelligent. Why is that? Because fairy tales can help with comprehension. If children can watch or read a fairy tale and know the moral of it, they will be able to comprehend things much better. Beauty and the Beast, child can learn it's on the inside that matters, not what you look on the outside. Young girls are always role-playing, pretending that they are princesses from Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty. If it wasn't for my girls, I would never have thought fairy tales would have such a big impact in children. It wasn't until Frozen came out that I really saw the impact. One would play Elsa, one would play Anna. They would have to have dresses so it looked more realistic. I would watch them play, or my husband would watch them play, and they would do the scenes really well. The part that really touched me was in one of the scenes when one of the sisters were about to be frozen, the other one ran in her place. So she was ultimately frozen. Afterwards, when the girls were done playing, they told me that's what sisters do. They protect each other. They saw that on a fairy tale, and then they decided that's the right thing to do, and they told us about it, and they acted out. Not all fairy tales have princesses in them. Jack and the Wolf is a well-known fairy tale. In Jack and the Wolf, you can learn that if you do not tell the truth, no one will believe you when you're in trouble. I've read that one to my son many a time, and he comprehends it well. It's just a matter of doing what you learned. Keeping those points in mind, fairy tales are good for the imagination. They can improve your literary skills. If children can envision what they are reading, they will understand much better. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. Christopher Robin said this to Winnie the Pooh. However, if you are reading this to your child and you emphasize the you when you are telling them that, it's like you are reading the quote about them to them. You're letting them know that if they are braver and they believe they're stronger and they seem smarter than they really act, then they will be. According to Susan Kim, who is a journalist for the Huffington Post, in an article she wrote about fairy tales are the best tools to teach young children how to handle your fears and problems and the questions in their life. Cinderella lost both parents. She was mistreated, she was hurt, she suffered, she had lost all hope. In the end, she was able to live happily ever after. What can we learn from Cinderella? In Cinderella, even though she went through the trials, she was always kind and courteous to everybody. And depending upon which Cinderella you read or watched, she ended up pardoning the mother and the stepsister. So regardless of how bad they treated her, she did not want any harm to come to them. I hope all of you see how important the underlying message in fairy tales can be. They can create endless words and spark the imagination of a child.